Now we want to do some simple analysis today. So you're going to be doing a categorical. We have like two types of variables. A categorical are the ones that you've categorized, the ones that maybe you've labeled, and then you've continuous variables, whereby maybe you are left to put your answer, like what's your age? I'll put 18. So we're going to see, and today we're only going to be using frequencies and statistics for today. ANOVA, those ones we mostly are used at a later stage, maybe when you're analyzing the thesis for PhDs. And not all the thesis only need some things like regression and ANOVA. But for most of the data, and what you're going to do today, like this data, we're going to be using frequencies and statistics. Now, data analysis, we have frequencies, and we have descriptive with linear regression. Today we want to just deal with frequencies for the kind of data that we'll even have in our questionnaire. We'll have many graphical representations, as we shall see. We can choose to have pie chart, you can use to have a bar chart, you can choose to have a line chart and histogram. Especially we'll need an histogram whereby we are having continuous variables like age, where people will just put number of children and all that. Now, what is the procedure of doing analyzing data using frequencies? So we have the data view, we have analyze, descriptive statistics with frequencies, then you drag the variables to the right side, and then we have charts, as you're going to see here. So for example, let's come, this is where analyze is. So after analyze, we are saying we're coming to descriptive statistics and frequencies. After which, now this is the data we are saying, what you want to analyze, you move it to this right-hand side, and then you click OK. After you click OK, you click continue. But let's see that one physically here. So let's analyze first of all our categorical variables. So our categorical variables here, we have a few categorical variables. So we're going to have analyze. That's where the analyze was. Then we go to descriptive statistics. We just want to analyze few things like level. We're going to analyze marital status, number of children, and gender. These ones, because these are the ones that we've categorized. So you come to analyze descriptive statistics, and then you go to frequencies. If I'm too fast, please let me know. We want to analyze some of our categorized variables. Like we've categorized gender, we've categorized level of education, and we've categorized something else, like let's see. So analyze descriptive statistics and frequencies. So this is what we have. You can actually reset, because I'd worked on it, you reset. So when you reset, all of them will be on one side. So now we want to analyze some data, and we have used frequencies. Frequencies work very well with very few counts. That's why we are going to have the ones that we've categorized. Like there is no many counts of it. It's either 1, 2, or 3, or 4. That's why we've categorized them. So for the age will be very continuous. You could have someone who is 13, someone is 22 or 21. So you're not going to have teenagers' ages frequency. But level of education, it's categorized. Is either post-primary or that. We have marital status also is categorized. And gender is categorized. So that's what we mean when we say we move them to the right hand. And how do we want to analyze this data? Maybe we just want to use charts. So which type of charts? Bar charts will be the best for these. On frequencies, and then you continue. Is that okay? So when you continue, you'll say display frequency tables, and then you make sure this one is input. The frequency tables that they show how the frequency of the tables, that there will be tables. Now you come here, when you click OK, this is your data. I know most of those in academic have been seeing these on their thesis, and you wonder where it's coming from. Just a simple click, and that's data. Even if it was for 1,000 respondents, it will come. So for example, what you've been able to get here is our frequency table tells us from the respondents, with 13 respondents, it tells us that four do not have any formal education. Primary education were 3. That the percent was 23%. That counted for 23. For secondary education, we had 3, and for post-secondary education, we also had 3. So realize majority, a bigger percentage, lies in the teenagers with no formal education. So this is just the table for level of education. When it comes to marital, and for information, you can click this table, you copy, because when you are going to be reporting, we shall see how we'll be reporting. You can click it like just like that, and you paste it. So that's your table. The same way, just like the graphs we are going to see. So when it comes to the marital status, for the 13 respondents, 6 were single, 4 were married, 3 were divorced. They got married as teenagers and they got divorced. For the gender, you are going to see that 10 of them identified as female and 3 identified as male. So that's why you'll be left asking yourself, I thought they were teenage pregnancies. Why would someone identify as male? Yeah. So the same thing. So now this gives you the graph, the bar graph of the same. For the level of education, the same bar graph. Primary education, we had this number 3 and so on and so forth. You can come again, right click, you copy, and maybe from where you're doing your reporting, you can come and just paste your graph just like that. So that's you've just done analysis for that categorical variables, the 3 categorical variables that we had. So let me go back to our screen. No worries, we'll just go back there again. So for us to get the same data, analyze, you come to descriptive statistics, frequencies, you can reset if you want to reset. So we were doing for level of education, we did gender, and we did marital status, because those are the ones that we've categorized and they can be analyzed well using charts. So we said we are going to have bar charts. Then the frequencies will be showing. You must show the frequencies. Then continue. You display the frequency tables. That's what you've said. You can even have create APA style tables. Yeah, so the APA style tables, you realize that few things have changed a bit. So this is it, the same thing that we had. You can still come again, copy, then you just paste, just like we had said. Now, if you're very keen, you realize that these are the APA tables. If you've done maybe this is researcher, the APA tables are different from this one. So that's why we input set APA tables. As we were analyzing the data, we set for APA tables just for reporting, because when they're doing the CISA, they have to report using the APA format. So as simple as that. The married ones, the single are 6, married are 4, accounting for 30%, divorced, separated are 3, accounting for 23%. So you're going to realize that most of the teenage pregnancies are single because it accounts for 46%. Then now you can have your data, your bag. You can actually support it when you're going to be presenting. Now, back to our graph again. Now, we wanted to analyze descriptive statistics and we are using frequencies. So now we need to analyze the other 2 variables that we had. So we come here again and reset. Now we have categories that we have variables that were never categorized. They were just left open. It's continuous variables. And that's where we had age, and we had number of children. We were not specific, like if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 children. What if someone has like 10 or maybe more children? So we left it open as a continuous variable. So now, mostly when we are analyzing these variables are continuous variables. We will use statistics. You will come and click statistics. Because mostly these continuous, we are interested in finding the mean, the mode, the median, the standard deviation, maybe the quartiles, and so on and so forth. So I'll go back again. So we said we'll come to the same analyze, descriptive statistics, and then we move to frequencies. When we move to frequencies, we are going to have the ones that you've not analyzed maybe now, they were continuous. Age is continuous. You drag it there to the right side. Number of children. The rest we've analyzed. We only had 5 variables. Remember, we say depending on your questionnaire, or if we were to analyze this questionnaire up to the end, if we were to analyze our questionnaire, we would be having so many variables. Like we would have this, how would you describe the level of support? Now we would have this like a variable like support. And then when we go to the labeling, we label it as a level of support during pregnancy. We'll have this label maybe name as a variable, naming it as a, did you receive any counseling or support? We could maybe have we could call it counseling. And then maybe for the labeling, we could even retype the question so that you're able to understand it clearly if it shall confuse you. Was the pregnancy planned or unplanned? You could actually say plan or any word that you think could be a good variable, you put it there. So at what age? So you could have age, then you say preg. Remember, we said the characters are also not so many. And then for the labeling, now you can actually copy paste the whole question and label it. As at what age did you become pregnant? 255 characters, remember, for labeling. So for the so many questions, each of them will form a different variable. So when you come here now, we are saying now we want to look at variables that are continuous, that you've just left open for people to write. So we have teenagers' age and we have number of children. So we want to use statistics now here because most of the continuous variables are using statistics because they measure quantities like median, mode, standard deviation, and all that. So these ones we shall use statistics. But for the categorical variables, we will not use statistics because we just want to have a simple bar chart to understand how many males, how many females were there. But the best for analyzing these statistics, the continuous variables, we use statistics. So you come here, click statistics. So at this point, maybe we're interested in understanding the mean. We may want to have the mode, median. Maybe if we want to also get the mode, the quantiles, maybe we want to see what is the 25th quartile, 50th quartile, and 75th quartile. If you need the percentiles, not so much, but we may actually need them. Then if you need the standard deviation, how is the deviation? Minimum, maximum. If you need variance, but these ones we may not need them at this stage, but if you need them, we will put them. You will be able to know what it happens. So, for example, for our age and number of children, we need to understand the mean, the median, the mode. We'll maybe look at the quartiles, maybe the percentile, standard deviation. Then you come and just click. Then we go to continue. Now, these are continuous variables. We will need something like an histogram, to understand it better. So you come to also charts, and then you can have an histogram. Then you say continue. And then you don't have to display frequency table because we don't need tables at this age. But if you also want to create APA style format at this time, it may not work if the tables are not displayed. But maybe at this point we may not need it. So we come here. Now we have our statistics, we have our mid, modern, and we have a histogram. So you come here and click OK. Now when you click OK, this data has just been analyzed by that click. Even if the variables were 20, they would be analyzed here. Now this chart will have like a teenage age, number of children. Then if there was another variable, it could be here, another one, or that. So the chart could be long depending on the data that you have. So we are going to understand that for the teenagers' age, the mean was 17. The mean for the teenagers' age was 17. So the median age is still 17 and the mod was 14. So the minimum age was 13, the maximum age was 21. So at the 25th percentile or quarter, we had an age of 14.5. At the 50th percentile, we had 17. And at the 75th percentile, we had 19. So when it comes to the number of children, we had the same. The mean for the people who had children, we had people with 2.38. That was the mean. The median for the number of children was 2. So majority of the people had 2 children. And a mod, we had a mod of 2 children. Majority had 2 children. So the minimum number of children was 1. The maximum we had people with 4. So the 25th percentile we had 2. The 50th percentile we had 2. And the 75th percentile we had 3. So that is it. This is how the table shows, or this is how the table comes looking up like. So here you will be able to tell that the standard deviation was 2.4, the mean, like you're able to be telling the median age of girls who are getting teen pregnancies is 17. So if, for example, you are planning to have a program to teach girls on teenage pregnancies, maybe you would focus on STEM age, because that's where majority lie. Remember, this is just a representation. Your data could have 500 girls in one slum, so that would be more objective. So it can help you if the median is 17 and we have a mod of maybe 14, the mean is still 17. So you realize that at that age is where maybe you need to put more resources. Most of these teenage girls have children. The average is 2. So most of these teenage girls have mean or else have 2 children. So how do you offer support to these? For example, maybe if they had answered a question on how often they experience feelings of anxiety, sadness. Now, if it's maybe a training program or you need to come in support and they say they experience it a few times a week or occasionally, now you may also, as you design maybe a program for them, for support, you may need to see now how often will you need to have these maybe one-on-one, whatever sessions, depending on how they have answered this question. So this is a bit of some of the things I'm talking about. So statistics, they really give us the mid, mod, and median, and they are mostly used when it comes to continuous variables. So you can still come copy the same. If you're doing your reporting, you're doing your end of year report, maybe you could just come and do the same, paste the same. So, this is what we were just talking about. This is what we've been talking about that is in form of slides, whereby we started with, we want to analyze categorical data. We said we go to analyze descriptive statistics, and then we move to frequencies. Then you put what you want to analyze. You don't need to analyze all the data at the same time. You can even choose to analyze every variable differently. So if it's like this, you can actually reset. When you click on reset, they will all be on the left side, and then you can move the variables that you want to. So the process we've gone through, maybe for the categorical, we did bar charts, and then we continued, and then we got our data. So these are our statistics. We had it in form of tables and in form of graphs, just like, and then this is what we put here. We're able to see the gender, 5 identified as female, depending on what you've analyzed and the type of data that you have. This was just for the purpose of training that I done previously. So we had gender at level of education, and then these were the tables. So at marital status, gender, level of education, and these were their graphs. Now, what we've talked about in statistics, we've said statistics is used to analyze continuous variables that are just left to write your answer. And we've said we use statistics and we use histogram to see if it's still in the normal curve. So yeah, the process is just the same. The process is the same from after you move to analyze the statistics, then frequencies, and then you click statistics here. So here you will not click on charts, you will click statistics. After you click statistics, you will now come here and maybe do your, what you want to select. You want to select quartiles, mean, median, and mode, deviation, minimum, maximum. This will give you data. What was the minimum of age of the girls who are getting pregnant, teenage girls? What is the maximum? What is the average age of the girls? And depend on the variable. And then you'll come and click continue. After click continue, it will look like this. So you'll go to charts, and then you click on histogram. Histogram are very good in analyzing continuous variables. And then you have to click a show normal curve. So once you click share the normal curve, now you actually click continue, and now you'll have your data here. This is the table that shows the frequencies. Like you'll be able to understand what is the mean for the, what is the mean age for these girls who are getting teenage pregnancies in slums. The questionnaire will also have when you develop a very good questionnaire, you can actually be able to get so much data. For example, how they got pregnant, depending on how you've structured your questionnaire. So that if maybe you are coming to curb teenage pregnancies, you are able to know where to put resources. So this is it. I just want to pick something that's a bit complicated. We have now like this age. Remember, we had asked people age, and this one also at section 2 demands at what age did you get pregnant or did you become pregnant? So we already had our label for age, and then we called it teenager's age. But now we need to add something else called age, but this age is for what age you got pregnant. Remember, this name is very unique to you. If you remember the characteristics that you are given for the names, it can be a very unique name. So for example, you can come and say age pregnant, age you got pregnant. Remember it, this one I put a special character. So if you put a special character, it will not like if I put something like that, it will not accept. So you have to put something that you will understand for this name. For example, if I put age PG, but then here I'll come and say age teenager got pregnant. This one has got nothing. There is not. This one can accept up to actually even 255 characters. You can even actually come and copy paste the whole question. At what age did you become pregnant? You can actually come and copy paste the question so that the label becomes a bit different too. So even if you came and copy pasted, the question here is still the same. So that is it. At what age did you become pregnant? So the label is a descriptive of the name, but the name is what has to be very unique. The name has to be very unique. So the name can be coded, actually. That's what we call coding. And that's why I didn't want to get into so much analysis today, but you can even code. You can decide to code all these. For example, for age, you can put even AG or even G, as long as you understand the code. So you can decide to code all these names to a thing that you understand. So for example, you understand the code, the name I've given for name, for age, is different from the code I've given for a different variable like this one. At what age did you become pregnant? Something else, was the pregnancy planned or unplanned? You can still come and call the same. Planned or unplanned pregnancy. Planned or unplanned pregnancy. You can even have it like this. So that when you come here and you see planned or unplanned pregnancy, you are the one who understands this code represents this. And then you can just come here and say planned or unplanned pregnancy. So all the way, this questionnaire, you can actually fill all of it here. Then you can, did you receive any counseling or support during your pregnancy? You can come and code the same. Did you receive any support during pregnancy? Whatever you want to code it. There are several ways of doing quantitative data. Quantitative data. Now, quantitative data becomes a bit tricky because you have to categorize. You have to have all the information, then you categorize it and you code it. For example, we have these questions that we have put open, so they'll be quantitative. So what would you say has been the biggest challenge to your mental well-being since becoming a mother? You may have like 50 responses. So these 50 responses, you are going now to have to summarize them. For example, what has been your biggest challenge? You're going to see maybe people will be talking about finances, others will be looking about support, others will talk about abusiveness in maybe if they are married, others will talk about neglect, others will talk about, so all those pointers, you're coming to put them down. So you'll put them down in this way. For example, you're going to have them, maybe if they are 5 or 10, now you're going to categorize them in that way. If I'm making sense. For example, you find that most of them will revolve around the same factors. Or else, what would say be the biggest challenge? Let's look at the biggest challenge. So, what are these biggest challenges? You find them most people will be revolving. You may have 500 responses, but the challenges have become a limiter. Like 10 will talk about, depending on their writing. The biggest challenge is actually not understanding the language or not understanding the handwriting. But now you realize that most of them will talk about finances. Like if 30 talk about finances, or 5 talk about domestic violence, or 30 talk about having mental issues and not being able to do the children. No, you code all that. So these will be the coping mechanisms. So you can actually come and now have a list of like 10 challenges. A is going to represent finances, B is going to represent violence, C is going to represent, depending on the answer that people have given. And now, when you have that, now you can come here and analyze it. You can now come and give values to what the quantitative data is all about. That one becomes a very easy way to analyze using SPSS. Although there is a tool called NVivo that is the best for doing quantitative analysis, but this one also works well. When you've gone through them and then you categorize them, you'll just come to values, and now you'll say one will represent, for example, that question will be challenges. Allow me call it maybe challenges during pregnancy. For example, it is, what would you say a big challenge to your mentor since becoming a teenage mother? Yeah. Since becoming a teenage mother, you can actually have it like challenges P, child P, whatever you want to call it. And then now when you come to values, you will read all the responses. Of course, you will type the responses, and then now you can group them. So it comes now to responses. You can come now and add values. For example, you can categorize them to value one. We'll say these are the finances. Maybe value two, we'll say value two. We don't actually need these decimal places. We can do it with them. So for value two, we can say that they were talking about mental breakdown or else or mental issues. For three, they were talking about domestic or else violence. Maybe four, depending on what they have written, talked about isolation, or maybe they lost friends. Any of those, just since they got teenage pregnancies. Maybe number five, they will say the low self-esteem and all that. So depending on how they have been categorized, you realize some of them are relating. So you come and put, okay, so now that's what you'll be doing. We can come here and actually have the decimals at 0. Yeah. So this one you can actually come and copy paste the question as it is. That way, during analysis, you will be able to understand what exactly the question meant in case you are trying to forget the code that you put in. So that is it.